drums, and then later, about 6 years after that, when I was 11, 12 years old, I just started to want to have more melody, get more melody. And drums, they don't give you much of a melodic, it's all percussion. So I just gravitated to more melodic instrument. Guitar was the instrument of the day with a lot of the British invasion bands, Beatles, Stones, Yardbirds, people like that. So I just, Everly Brothers, so I started to just gravitate more and more to guitar, and got very passionate about it, and just lived and breathed and ate it 24 hours a day when I was a kid.
So, your first guitar?
I'll be 11 years old. It was a cheap, inexpensive electric bought out of a catalog, like a electronics store. $59, something like that. It wasn't very expensive. And then my second guitar was my aunt owned a beauty salon, cut hair, and I used to sweep floors on Saturdays and save. She used to give me $5 every Saturday to sweep floors and clean up. And I saved up money and I bought a box, $88 guitar, when I was about, I don't know, maybe 12 years old. It was funny how I got into a band as a guitarist. Like I told you a little earlier, I was a drummer first, and I had bands where I was a drummer, but I was practicing guitar and trying to get more developed as a guitarist. And the band that I had all quit. They left and joined another band in town, and I went to see them play a party one day behind this pizza restaurant in a parking lot near where I lived, and the guitar player in the band didn't show up for the gig. He had a big fight with his girlfriend. We were like young kids. We were 12, 13 years old, and they knew I went to see them because he was my ex-bandmates. So they said, "Hey, do you know these songs? Can the guy's not showing up? Can you play with us?" And they were going to do 3 sets, and I knew about 10 of the songs. So they drove me home, and I got my guitar and my amplifier, and I played the first set, like 10 songs, and then they taught me 10 more songs in the break, and I learned those and I played them, and then in the next break they taught me 10 more songs, and I played those. And so the first time I ever played guitar in a band was at an actual gig. I didn't even ever rehearse with a band as a guitarist. The first time I actually was in a band playing guitar for the first time was an actual paying gig. So. My feeling about artists, whether they be novelists or painters or poets or film directors or musicians, I don't think that you choose the art. I think it chooses you, and it's in your blood. And the people that have a true emotion for it, they can't help themselves. It's just something that they're driven to do. And like I said, I don't think you choose it. I think it chooses you. for example, recently I had done we were on tour in the United States, and we were playing in San Diego, and I had just seen Joe Satriani in Boston. I had a day off, and Joe invited me to his show, and he was on tour with Eric Johnson, who was a friend of mine, and Steve said, "Oh, we're going to the West Coast." I said, "Oh, we're going to be playing in San Diego, I don't know where it was, San Jose or something like that." And he said, "Well, we're going to be in San Francisco that night. Why don't you come up and sit in?" So it was the first time that I really sat in with Satch and Eric Johnson. So it's kind of frightening because I'm fans. I'm a real big fan of those guys, and they're fantastic, wonderful, very accomplished players on their instruments. So it was a little bit unnerving to get up there and try to stand toe to toe with those guys, but it was a lot of fun. And the greatest thing that's happened to me is that now that I've been touring and my records, especially in the United States, are more recognizable. A lot of these people that I was fans of have now become my friends. I'm friends with Eric Johnson and Joe Satriani and a lot of these people that Skunk Baxter and just a lot of these guitar players that I really always loved listening to are friends of mine now. So that's kind of like one of the really kind of cool things that's happened.